Hi, I'm Lee Bivona, and this is video 12 in the series I'm calling A Life Worth Living. And this story is about a patient dealing with a rather huge change in his reflection of life, and it happens quite abruptly. And then what he does with that and what I do with that transformation of insight is a truly remarkable transformation. So the story here is called Now You Know. The situation is I found myself in was with a 52-year-old man, and I'm using that age because that's the age that I am now, and there's some incredible parallels to what this man experienced at 52 to what I'm experiencing at 52. For myself, I've been a hospice nurse for 12 years, ICU nurse for 12 years before that. And about 6 weeks ago I had some pain in my back. Thought I probably had a slipped or herniated disc. Turns out I have very advanced stage 4 bone and prostate cancer. And what that means, it's the cancer is literally in almost every large and medium-sized bone in my body and throughout my pelvis, to such an extent that I've gone from being a hospice nurse to a hospice patient about 3 weeks ago. So I have a prognosis of about 3 to 6 months, and again, you'll see the amazing parallels between myself and this man. So I was taking care of him many years ago, and he had come into the hospital with a lot of abdominal pain, and when I was seeing him, was in the process of actually coming into his room and giving him some antibiotics in a little bag about like this, hanging that on the IV pole, and then giving him some medicines also to help him prepare for some tests he was going to have that day. So while I was preparing these medicines, he says, "How long have you worked here in cancer care?" And I said, "About 2 years." And he said, "Well, what did you do before that?" And I said, "I actually worked in hospice care." And he said, "Why would you work in that?" Kind of a funny way to frame the question, but it was certainly earnest. And I said, "Well, actually, hospice taught me not so much about dying process, because that's not really the focal point. We know people are heading to the heavens and all, but hospice's philosophy is really about living every single day. So even though somebody's body might be winding down, the idea is to look at where they're at, the resources that they have and their abilities, and try to maximize that, and so that the quality of their life is at its highest." He said, "I didn't thought of it that way." I said, "And actually, one of the things that's important to me is hospice, when I walked away from that setting, which obviously I returned to, I learned that every day can be viewed that way, that every day is about making the most of whatever you have." And I told that man, I said, "If I think I came away with one thing that I could kind of put in a nugget, or a gold nugget, is that love is the most important thing in life." And he looked down, he said, "I like that." His wife's telephone rang. It was a cellular phone, and she had to leave the room, and he looked rather somber when she left. And so as I was preparing these medicines, kind of a big medicine cart and a laptop computer and little barcoding thing like at the grocery store, so a lot of technology there that we kind of wheel into these patients' rooms, but I really felt a pull on this man, and I said, "What are you thinking?" He says, "Well," he says, "what happened to me was I'm here now with this stage 4 cancer, and the doctors tell me I have 3 to 4 months to live." And he looked at me quite earnestly, and literally time stood still. And I realized this was not just a passing conversation at that point. And I stopped what I was doing, and I said, "Well, tell me a little bit more." And he began to tell me this story, and it was interesting that the divine hand, or Holy Spirit, or the Tao, the Chi, whatever life energy you want to call it, actually had his wife leave the room so he could, almost in privacy, tell me this story. And he said, "Well," he said, "when my wife and I were young, 16, 17, 18, we were high school sweethearts, and she's a very dear woman, and I really liked working hard, and I liked innovating." And he said, so when we were 18 going on 19 and looking at getting married, we made this agreement. And the agreement was that I would work really hard and as successfully as I could as the businessman, and she would raise the family. And through that time, that 20 years or so, then we could hopefully become millionaires, make our nest egg, and retire at 50. And I was like, that's pretty good. He says, yeah, and actually it went really, really well, except one big thing happened. We put almost all of our money into this company that I worked for, he's telling me, and the company went bankrupt. And I just kind of dropped my head a little bit, and he said that was $3 million. He said the only other money we had was we took out a small percentage, 1% of that, and that was $300,000, and we put that to the side. And he said, and actually that was 2 years ago that we did that $300,000. So here I am at 52, he's telling me, and the $300,000 we have is all that we had for the past 2 years. That $3 million is gone. And he said, and now I'm sitting here with this cancer, and they're telling me that I have like 3 to 4 months to live. Pretty sobering. So we literally kind of stood in silence for a minute. He was on his bed, and again I'm standing to his, that would be his left, and there wasn't much to say, and the emotional weight of this was really coming to him, because I had just talked about love, and I had just talked about making the best out of every moment, and kind of the third big thing that got stated was that he had lost all of these things, and his money, his future nest egg, and now in a direct way he's really kind of losing his life, literally, as far as this earth life goes, this one time. And it became very, very difficult, and he pulled his hand kind of to his face, and he really started to weep. And it was very, very heavy, and it was very, very authentic. And again, it's so incredible that this was a very private moment. A lot of times in the hospital, we all know how people just walk in at 2 in the morning, no matter what's going on. It seems like there's almost like a reverse effort. The more private things need to be, the more the housekeeper needs to come in, or an extra doctor comes in. Well, the divine hand gave us this window. His wife left the room, and nobody came in, and we had this incredibly private moment kind of out in the open. And he started to sob really, really deeply, and sobbing doesn't even, or weeping, only begins to approximate the gravity of what this man was feeling. And he said, I missed it. And I said, you missed what? And I had a general idea, but I thought it was really important for him to say what it was, because I could have done some generalizing or empathizing and been about my way with my medications. And I said, no. I said, you missed what? And again, in this huge sobbing and tears, he began to lay out everything he had missed. He said, I missed actually my children being born, because I was so busy with work. A lot of that was actually done in phone calls, where I was traveling, and I never got to see them be born, and I didn't get to see them get raised, and most of that was done by, he was saying most of that was done by my wife. And he started laying out this huge history of all the things that he had missed as he's sobbing, and it was so painful, just painful for him to like do this reflection of huge losses, watching them graduate from high school, watching them with their football games, watching the daughter played basketball, and she was very, very good at it, and this huge list, and the list truly just didn't end. And it was about 10 minutes of him really opening up to everything that he knew that he had missed, and it was so profound, and it was so heart-wrenching. And I knew this man deserved this moment, that he needed this moment. And so he kept talking, and it was huge, and it was painful, and the sobbing wasn't even in his face. It was really in his chest, in his heart of hearts. And then there was a silence, and his face was down, and his energy was just right here, and it just felt so heavy. And I listened on the inside for what to say to this man. And what I said was this. I said, you did. I said, you missed all of that. You did. And it was very important not to try to say something to fill that space with a quote, with an optimistic thing, with the silver lining. This was not the time for that. Like, this man just realized the most important thing in his life, that he had missed so many huge things, and it was the truth. It couldn't be fixed. It was not alterable, and he's dying. And I felt the best I could do was to give him that moment, and you can only imagine sitting and listening to this video how heavy it would be, tempting to say something to lighten the load, and I didn't feel like I needed to lighten the load. And I also felt like I could handle the load. So literally for about a minute of huge silence, I said, you missed it. I said, you really missed a lot. And I said it as sincerely as I could, because it was he and I actually observing the past. And I think that's where the camaraderie came in, because it wasn't me talking at him or him talking at me. We were looking at his reality together. And because I had shared about love and about honoring the moment and the valuing life, this is what made all this possible. So there was this huge silence again. And I said, but you know something. He said, what? I said, but you know something now. I said, now you know. I said, now you know the value of all of those things. He had a different value set, a different meaning for what they meant back then, and they were kind of connected to the future. But now you know the value of the love that you wanted to put there. You wanted to know the value of every minute of connecting the future so that you could have a comfortable future. You worked hard for that, and you are seeing a different value now. But you see the value of all of this, because that's what got you and I talking, was we were talking about love. And what you missed was that love, but now you know. Now you know. And so there was another moment of silence, and one of the things that I do is I try to get to these moments of silence, and then I ask for spiritual guidance on what to say next. And I have this spiritual being, his name is Wazi. It can be whatever works for you, Jesus, Buddha, Arjuna, anyone, Rumi, whatever gets you closer to God to help answer difficult questions. I say ask for their assistance, and they will help. So I said to him, now you know. Now you know the value of all of those things, but you know something very, very special now. Your life is different from this moment forward, right now. I said, you know the value of love. And I said, there are people in my years and years and decades of being in healthcare that are 70, 80, 90, and over 100 that didn't get what you're understanding right now. As painful as it is, you're understanding the value of love. That's why it hurts so badly. It's because you realize these are opportunities that you missed, but they're opportunities about love. And from this moment forward, whether you live for an hour or a week or a month or a year or a decade, you cannot go back on this. You know the value of love. Now you know. And that can't retreat. No matter what happens, good, bad, light, dark, you know the value of love now. And that's going to instill in the rest of your being. And if you believe in a heaven, if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe in any future when your physical body stops, and whatever you want to say you continues, whether it's soul or consciousness or spirit, that's what you carry forward too, is the value of love. And you know this, and I'm telling you, after all these years of doing healthcare, there are thousands and millions of people that don't know what you know now. And your life is better for that. So to me, when I look at you, I feel all that pain, and I can't do anything to change it. But I do know that from this moment forward, you know something about love, and your life is going to be forever better and forever more loving. And when your wife comes back in the room, which was amazing because she walked in the room right then, she'll know, even if you can never put it in words, that something's different. Your kids will know that something's different. Your friends will know that something's different. And that something that's different is what you've always been looking for. Is that in every single moment, love matters most. And he nodded, and he leaned forward, and he shook my hand, and he kind of got back into his businessman mode, and he thanked me for taking the time, and I thanked him for being so open and trusting with me. And I got back to my little antibiotic bag and to the things at hand, and literally just kind of exited the room. And I knew that my life was going to be different from then on too, because he had helped change me and clarify for me the value of love in every living moment. Because now I know, and now he knows, and now you know. Thank you.